Kevin Reeves, we're live.
Yes, here we are.
Here we are
Once
once
again.
again. Happy Friday and happy Pride. I'm not sure if you're happy. Happy Pride Week.
Yeah,
um, so yeah, welcome back to Dummy's Guide to Excuses. And I am Jimmy Allen, love and relationship coach, and this is
Kevin Reeves. I'm a leadership coach.
leadership coach.
Yeah,
Yes, Reeves. So we got a nice topic here today. This is the way I am is an excuse, and I brought this up because I recently heard it by someone, and this person's birthday is coming up, and he said I don't celebrate, and I was very curious. I was like, why you don't celebrate your birthday? And he looked at me because I didn't. I kind of figured it was a triggering thing. Didn't know what it was. Obviously he wasn't from this country. He said, so my birthday is in July, and in his country, people are a holiday, so nobody's around. Nobody shows up. So in his mind, for 43 years, nobody's going to show up for me. Why celebrate my birthday anyway? And every year he's depressed. Every year his friends and family call, don't answer the phone. He doesn't accept gifts. And I was like, oh my God, like I felt really sad because he's stuck in the story and choosing to stay there. And he can't even see the people who are currently in his life that are calling him, showing up, want to love on him, because he's stuck in this story of, well, this is the way I am, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I felt so sad. And a lot of us, especially in relationships, well, this is the way men are. So what do you want me to do about it? This is the way I am. This is the way I was brought up. And it's like, we all have the power to change, but it is a really an excuse that keeps people stuck to where they are and in their sometimes depressing situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like a pretty specific situation that you're describing, but it's also something that I think we all do to a degree of really saying, this is who I am. But it kind of like even bounces over into the this is the way things are. And then they both kind of play off of each other. And we do that, and even just like down to those little nitty gritty details of I'm really tired. Like you might say that, or I'm really busy, or I had a really rough childhood, or I don't really get along well with my brother.
My favorite is I'm not a morning person.
Yeah. Totally. Right. And it's so funny because there's a couple things to that. There's like the scientifically proven, this is, your brain is so literal, your brain really like it takes in what you say, and that's how like the whole like positive thinking comes in, of like really like they said that like basketball players who like visualize themselves like on their free throws, like making the basket, and they going through it and visualizing it without any practice, they actually like improve their shot and had a higher percentage of free throws made because of just the way they visualized it and said it. And there's that to a degree, right? Of like, this is what you're saying to yourself. This is who I am. But then there's also the social aspect where we're just saying, this is who I am. So this is how this type of person acts. I'm a baker. So it's okay if I'm this, and this, because this is how a baker would be, right? We all have like these ideas around what these things are. I'm a dad. Well, if I'm a dad, then these things are on the table because these are all things that dads do. We're so big on labeling, which is why when you go to a party and you meet someone, hey, what do you do? And you shake their hand and they tell you they're a lawyer. Oh, and we start like assuming all these things about them because we know what lawyers are.
Right.
So we're really that way. Yeah.
I have a story related to that. Like a couple of years ago, I met someone and she's a lawyer, tall African-American woman. She's like 6'3". She was like, I'm already intimidating because I'm tall. I'm tall. And she said, I'm a lawyer. She said, and it's just tough because I'm looking for love. And the minute I tell, specifically a man, that I am a lawyer, she's like immediately they start combating with me. Like they want to like challenge me. Like she's like, that's not what I'm. So she was lying. She said I would tell them I'm a stewardess. She was like, and they started treating me like a little less than, and so like our people's brains automatically go into the labeling, and we start to treat people automatically because in our minds that is just the way they are. That's what lawyers do. That's
Right.
what basketball players. That's how you talk to stewards, especially people who and I had to work on my own with somebody who has a southern accent. They get it a lot. They're like immediately people think that I'm dumb because I have this accent. So I have to like, I had a friend. He would put it on and off. He was like, depends on who I am, who I'm with. I
Right.
have to tone my southern drawl down, otherwise people won't take me seriously because they have this
Mm,
automatic thinking like, oh, he's from Texas, oh, he's from Georgia. This is just the way he is. So I should talk to him because he has a certain accent. And I was like, oh my God, like how we ourselves, me too, automatically make this like stamp, like this is the way that person is.
yeah.
And it limits me and it limits us and our growth and our ability to be and grow in situations or with people.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole like topic could really be around just like the labels, because we all do this. Like this is so interesting. You meet someone that, let's say, is a celebrity, but you don't know they're a celebrity. But when you find out they're a celebrity, you change the way you would show up for them. It's the same thing we do when we've talked about this before, of like how you show up with like your birth family. Like you're a little kid, your mom and dad treat you this way, your brother, your aunt, whoever it is, and then you grow up and you change and you become this person, and then you go back home and you automatically just jump back into that
Right.
same old way of being with them, because that's what we've labeled as ourselves as. This is who I am when I'm with. It's kind of what you were talking about with like the accent thing, of like, I'm with these people, so I act this way. I'm with these people, I act this way. And we're not really showing up as our true self and like who we really want to be.
Mhm.
So a lot of times it just comes down to insecurity, or not knowing really who we are, not choosing, like consciously choosing who we are.
Right.
It's this real just hop into. It's like putting on a costume. Now I'm a cowboy. Like,
It's funny because I was sharing with you earlier about Eckhart Tolle, and as a whole, like him and Oprah did this thing with New Earth, and there's a whole section just on this topic. It wasn't like this is who I am, but it's on the word I am, and he says that anything after that word is what you become. And also in the book Happy Pocket Full of Money, they also reiterate that too, and they had some like more like scientific things. They were saying even when you say I am not this, he said the brain doesn't register not, it only register I am. So even when you say I am not hostile, you're resisting that, which sort of like in my own experience, it makes me more hostile. Even when somebody says, oh, you're mad, I'm not mad. And then the more it happens, I'm mad because now I've played into
yeah.
the whole scenario. And then like for me, I had to really work hard of like learning to not react to when somebody says, well, this is who you are. I mean, even this past weekend, somebody went to, the beach, gay beach, and so somebody, didn't even know who I was. And he recognized that I have vitiligo. And the guy was like, well, why are you not in the sun? And somebody was like, well, he's sensitive to the sun, because I am more sensitive to the sun than most people. And he was like, oh, that's a lie. Like you vitiligo people, and like this like labels me for some reason. And normally I would react to that. And I was just like, I can choose right now to be calm and still be where I am. And I did. Like I didn't react. I didn't participate because of, I guess a lot of it because of the training that I have. I'm learning to not allow myself to be affected by other people's stuff. So if I stand my ground, I am this powerful, loving human being, and that's my commitment for the day or whatever. Then that's how I'm going to show up,
Right.
calm, loving, and I'm choosing that. And
Right.
we all can choose something different. We don't have to be stuck with the scenario, the bad stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that can kind of be what takes us to kind of the solutions. Because I think you think, what is it that how do I stop this? Like, what do I do to do something different? We're so good at labeling. We're so good at like just putting ourselves in these little boxes and saying, well, this is the way I am. This is who I am. This is what it is. And I think when we look at that, what do we do? How do you switch that up? How do you change that? And one thing that I was just learning about was this idea of kind of taking really small steps, like
Mhm.
painfully small steps. And you say, okay, I want to lose a bunch of weight. What is the first thing you should do? You should go to the gym. Okay, great. But instead of that, there's this whole like scientific experiment that they did where they had like half a group do you just start going to the gym and start working out and see where they were in 6 months, and the other group did this like really small little task where they would get up, they'd set the alarm at 6 in the morning or whatever, and get up and say, well, there's nothing better than going to the gym, and they do this every single day, but they wouldn't even go to the gym. They'd just get up and say, there's nothing better than going to the gym right now. And they would really like just do that for like 6 weeks. I mean, till it was just like, this is ridiculous. They were like almost like chomping at the bit. Like, I just want to go to the gym, and they do that. And then they do the next step, which was put on their gym shorts and get dressed. And then they, that was the next step. The next step was to drive to the gym. And they did this for like a series of weeks for each step. Till like the time when they got to the gym, they were like, just like, oh, please let me go in. I've been doing this for like a couple months now. When they actually like started going to the gym, it was really interesting because they had changed the way their brain saw them. They had taken on this persona of like a person who goes to the gym.
Mm.
They were
Wow.
someone who goes to the gym, even though they had never even been in the stupid gym. They'd programmed themselves to like really see themselves that way, rather than like, I'm this guy, because it's really about changing your identity and
Mm.
changing who you are. And so I think that's a big part of what we're talking about here, is that we're actually changing who we are. We're choosing who we are. And
Right.
we've talked multiple times here about like choice, and that we get to choose this stuff. And so who are you seeing yourself as? Who are you choosing to be? If I'm just like this overweight guy who like, I should go to the gym, even if I lose some weight, it can maybe come back to me where I'm like, I'm just that guy. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of overweight guy. But if I'm like, no, I'm an athlete. I see myself as an athlete. Well, athletes are at the gym. I should be at the gym. This is what I do. This is who I am. And so it's really about changing that identity.
Yeah. And what my business coach, my first business coach, she had me do this exercise. I'll just break it down a little bit for you how like it started for me. Like she was like, in the beginning, it was a little tedious because I just was not fully aware of the I am statements that I was saying to myself. So she would say, whatever you say I am, you take it and you write it down and you break it down. Like, where is that coming from? And also, when I do say that, what are the actions that follow and the emotions behind? So write it down. What's the feeling? What does it make me do or not do? Like, does it make you like feel depressed? Because mine was depression, and I would like not want to do anything. I always want to be in bed, didn't want to work out, wanted to like drink. So, and I remember, there was one moment where it was right before I would go to bed. I would get up and go use the restroom and then go to bed. And I would say this thing. I'll go, I am a mess. Like I didn't, and I caught it and I was like, oh my God, that is why I wake up feeling depressed, because it was in that sort of like conscious unconscious state of mind where those beliefs start to happen right before the dream state.
Mm.
I was like, oh my God, like that is why I've been waking up the way I am, because I've been saying these little negative phrases right before I go to bed. And when I wake up, I feel like doing nothing and I do nothing. And I had to literally change, like, one, forgive myself for saying it, then change the thought, like, right before I go to bed. And literally, I started to feel better. I haven't
Man.
been depressed for almost like a year because I was consciously looking out for those phrases that I was saying over and over again, find out where it comes from, breaking it down, forgive myself, and changing a phrase and taking action based on the new way I want to show up right now.
Right. Yeah. It's so interesting because all this stuff that we're talking about, maybe for like the average person, like before I kind of got into this stuff, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, this is so weird. Like, who does that? Who like is thinking about like all these little stupid things? Like, just it really is like something that's tangible though. It's something that, I mean, you had this experience where it really changed how you show up, who you were, how you're feeling, all this stuff from like something so small and so
Yeah, so
simple.
strong.
Yeah. And it's sometimes we feel like, oh, that's just the way things are. We like, that's stupid. I'm not going to change this. And you can go that way. Like, I mean, we all have that choice. You can go that way. You can say that's just the way things are, and I'm not going to do anything about it. But if you're kind of feeling that staleness of life, if you're feeling like you're depressed, or you're kind of hitting the wall with maybe a certain situation or a relationship, that's really the place to start exploring what's going on here. For years, I worked in a job I didn't want to work in. And so much of it was I labeled myself and said, this is all I'm capable of, one. And then two, this is the type of person that I am. And so it was like these messages that I listened to for so long. And it was like, I'm tired of listening to this. Like, I'm going to change this. I'm going to do something about this. It's the same thing. I was reading a book about the Nazi concentration camps. And it was like the guys and the people who survived in that were the people who had hope, who like didn't let their psyche get beat down by like the constant, situation that they were in, but they looked beyond the situation of what they were going to do when they got out, how they were going to get out. What was what actually kept them alive. And so, when we're navigating life and you have these moments where you're just like, everything just feels awful. Those are the times to really look and say, what am I going to do to get through this? How am I going to grow? What's going to be the outcome? It's not just the give up and die and have that mentality, because that's really kind of what will happen.
Right. And it is going back to what you were saying earlier, the basketball analogy. There's a book on Michael Jordan's old book, and that was one of the things that in the beginning of the book that he would say why he was one of the greatest, because Michael Jordan said that right before the game, he literally would have his headphones on. This is what Kobe Bryant did too. He literally would imagine the entire game, word play by play, who's going to play, how many points, like literally to the T, and how he was going to show up, who he needed to become. And even in the book Relentless with Tim Grover, he even talks about the I am statements. I am a closer. I am, and that has a specific way of how you're going to show up and dominate the game. And he can tell by the language of each player was who's going to be the greatest. And that's how, like, the beauty of being a coach. Like for me, I can literally listen and tell how this person will even show up in the session. How are they going to operate in life is by the words they're going to say. And I look at the actions or inactions that are basically leading up or going to lead up to them either having a result or not having a result.
Right. Absolutely. I see that with my clients that are successful and are making changes. It's the ones who have changed their language.
Right.
I say, hey, what are you noticing this week? Oh, I've noticed that I'm speaking more positively. I noticed that instead of saying this, like this situation would come up and I normally just freak out and go this way. I'm now showing up and I'm speaking more positively and seeing like the kind of silver lining and some of that stuff. And that's like the beginning of like their progress, the beginning of their change, the beginning of them putting on that new identity. And so seeing that like all show up is like, I mean, it's such an honor and a privilege to watch that, first of all, but you just see this like little spark in them of like this like little fire. It's just like this little kindling, and you see that fire really start growing as they start seeing themselves differently. And but it's the people who like the ones that don't make progress are the ones that just kind of keep plugging away, doing the same thing. And it's like, well, that you hired a coach to change, and you're doing the same stuff. So let's like figure that out a little bit.
Right. And I love what you're saying before we wrap it up. It's like, it's not only like the way they're changing language that for me moves me, but it's the people in their life are reflecting back to them.
Yeah.
What you see in them. To me, that makes me like get me so emotional. And I cry. I'm like, yes, like they're doing it.
Yep.
That's why I love what I do. Any last words?
Nope. I think that's great, and I think it's really what I think it's what this whole thing's been about. Is like just helping people to take steps to change their lives. That's what we all are in the business about doing, and so excited to be on this this Friday episode with you again.
Yeah, man. Too. It's grateful to always be here with you, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, until next time.